when you think about championships, should it take away from your greatness, right? If you're all-time great? No. But it definitely enhance your greatness, okay? It definitely enhance your greatness. Because listen to this. No one remembers all-stars, okay? No one remembers all NBAs. No one remembers all defensive teams. No one remembers none of that shit. People remember champions. If I ask you who was the champion in 2004, I know I can think of it right off the top of my head, the Detroit Pistons. Ask me who was the champion in 2000, 1999, 2001, Kobe and Shaq, right? The list goes on. 2008, damn it, it was me, right? People remember champions. Champions are with you for the rest of your life once you're a champion. Wherever you go, people are going to remember you not for the all-star games that you made, but for the championships that you won. So let's not start moving the goalposts and lowering the standard and acting. Nah, championship matters. And when you talk about being in those conversations as far as the GOATs and all-time greats, no, they won. They won rings at a high level. The mindset, the Mamba mentality. The Mamba mentality was championship or bust. Championship or bust. No in between, right? Cole never talked about how many all-star games he made. No, Cole talked about championships. Jordan talked about championships. That's what matters. Does it take away from your greatness again? No, it don't. But it definitely adds to your greatness.
And let's not forget that part of greatness is showing up in the most important moments. The most important moments are playoffs and championships. And that is the reason that you get to be, whether it's in the top 5 or a top 3 or a top 2, or you get to be the GOAT, is because in the most important moment, as individually great as you were that great or better when it counted most. And so LeBron James is extremely intelligent. He knows that if now he comes out and says, hey, it's not about how many rings you accumulate, it's about how you played individually. Now, all of his fans, his people that say he's the GOAT can point to those numbers as long as you don't point to the amount of rings that somebody won, because that's the conversation or argument that he can't win. And I think for him, right, it's hypocritical, because you shaped your career early on around winning championships because you knew championships could make you the GOAT. You even said, when I came back 3-1 against the Warriors, that made me the GOAT because I won that championship. Now all of a sudden, because maybe there's a fear you won't win another one, championships or amount of championships don't matter.
There are moments in sports that force the world to pause and reflect. Just this past week, Ryan Clark and Kendrick Perkins shook the basketball community by calling out LeBron James. And the reason is simple. LeBron is trying to rewrite history. Ryan Clark put it bluntly. LeBron doesn't actually have a problem with ring culture. He has a problem with more rings culture, because LeBron built his entire career around championships. If rings didn't matter, he never would have left Cleveland to form a super team in Miami. If rings didn't matter, he never would have declared after coming back from 3-1 against the Warriors, "That's when I became the GOAT." But now, the story has changed. Now that he knows he cannot catch Michael Jordan's 6 rings, 6 finals MVPs, undefeated on the biggest stage, LeBron suddenly claims that rings don't define greatness. That is the very essence of hypocrisy. Kendrick Perkins made it even clearer. No one remembers all-star games. No one remembers all NBA. No one remembers all defense. People remember champions. People remember Kobe for his 5 rings. People remember Jordan for his 6. Rings aren't just stats, they are a legacy that lives with you forever. So here's the real question. If rings are only a small part, then why did LeBron once use a championship to crown himself the GOAT? And why now, when more rings are out of reach, does he suddenly try to devalue them? Fans can choose to believe LeBron's words today, but the truth, when you look back over his career, is undeniable. His contradictions reveal the reality he can't escape. LeBron James knows he will never surpass Michael Jordan. The hypocrisy in LeBron's argument. LeBron James is not only a great player, he is also a master at controlling the narrative around himself. But sometimes, his own words become the very evidence that exposes the contradictions in his logic. Let's go back to the summer of 2016. LeBron and the Cleveland Cavaliers made history, coming back from a 3-1 deficit against the Golden State Warriors to win the championship. In that moment, LeBron stood tall and declared, "That's when I became the GOAT." He didn't mention points. He didn't mention triple-doubles. He didn't mention all NBA selections. He mentioned the ring. That championship, by LeBron's own words, was the milestone that made him the greatest player ever. And yet, only a few years later, when the dream of catching Michael Jordan's 6 championships grew distant, LeBron changed his tune. Suddenly, rings weren't that important. Suddenly, greatness should be measured by the totality of a career, by accumulated points, rebounds, and assists. But here's the question. If rings don't matter, why did LeBron use a championship in 2016 to crown himself the GOAT? If rings are only a small part, why did he build his entire career around chasing them? From leaving Cleveland for Miami, to returning to Cleveland for redemption, to moving to Los Angeles, every decision revolved around one goal: winning championships. This is exactly what Ryan Clark pointed out. LeBron doesn't have a problem with ring culture. He only has a problem with more rings culture. When the door was still open, rings were the ultimate standard. But once he realized he could never surpass Jordan, he began trying to devalue them. This isn't a philosophical shift. It's a defensive narrative, a way for LeBron to protect his image when faced with the reality. He cannot escape the shadow of Michael Jordan. Ryan Clark. Exposing the truth. Ryan Clark didn't sugarcoat it. He laid out the hypocrisy of LeBron's stance in plain sight. LeBron James built his career around ring culture. If he hadn't, he never would have left Cleveland to join Miami. Think about that. LeBron was already an MVP in Cleveland. He was already putting up historic numbers. But he knew deep down that without championships, none of it would be enough to make him the GOAT. That's why the decision happened. That's why he teamed up with Dwyane Wade and Chris Bosh. It was never just about enjoying basketball. It was always about rings. Clark also exposed the contradiction in how LeBron chooses his metrics. He loves accumulation. He and his supporters constantly point to his career totals. Most points ever, top 10 in assists, rebounds piled up over 2 decades. But when it comes to rings, the one category he cannot win against Jordan, suddenly accumulation doesn't matter anymore. That's not coincidence. That's strategy. By dismissing rings, LeBron is trying to change the scoreboard in the middle of the game. He's rewriting the rules not because of belief, but because of necessity. Clark gave a perfect analogy. In football, Dan Marino was a brilliant quarterback who could spin it like no one else. But he never won a Super Bowl, so we don't call him the GOAT. Tom Brady, on the other hand, won when it mattered most, and that's why his name is etched in history. It's not just about how talented you are individually, it's about whether you delivered in the defining moments. LeBron knows this. That's why after the 2016 comeback, he crowned himself the GOAT. But now, when more rings aren't coming, he's trying to pivot. Clark's words cut to the core. LeBron doesn't have a problem with ring culture. He has a problem with more rings culture. And that single phrase reveals everything. LeBron's greatness isn't in question. But his attempt to minimize championships is the clearest signal yet that he knows he will never reach Jordan's throne. Perkins. Champions are forever. If Ryan Clark exposed the hypocrisy, Perkins hammered home the truth that LeBron is trying to avoid. Perkins' words were simple but devastating. No one remembers all star games. No one remembers all NBA. No one remembers all defense. People remember champions. That's the core of the debate. Championships aren't just trophies. They are the currency of legacy. Perkins explained it clearly. When you ask fans about 2004, they don't recall who made first-team All-NBA. They remember the Detroit Pistons shocking the world as champions. When you bring up the early 2002, people don't list all-star selections, they immediately think of Kobe and Shaq dominating the finals. In 2008, as Perkins himself reminded everyone, it was the Celtics raising the banner. The truth is undeniable. Greatness is elevated, not diminished, by rings. Championships don't erase an elite career without them. but they magnify greatness to another level. This is why Kobe Bryant never glorified all-star appearances. He always talked about championships. This is why Michael Jordan didn't dwell on all NBA teams or regular season accolades. He spoke about the 6 rings. For legends, the rings weren't just part of the resume, they were the resume. Perkins also pointed out that not all rings carry the same weight. A title like Giannis Antetokounmpo's in 2021, won in a small market without stacking a super team, holds a purity that resonates more than if he had joined Golden State to collect easy trophies. Context matters. Rings earned in your prime, as the undisputed leader, carry eternal weight. And this is exactly where Jordan stands, unmatched 6 for 6, all in his prime, all as the centerpiece. By contrast, LeBron's rings come with qualifiers. Miami's super team, Cleveland's miraculous comeback, the bubble championship in LA. They count. Yes, but they don't carry the same unshakable mythology as Jordan's, so when LeBron downplays ring culture, Perkins reminds us why that argument fails, because history doesn't remember the stats on a box score. History remembers the banners hanging in the rafters. History remembers the champions. The difference between stats and legacy. This is where the divide becomes crystal clear. Statistics fade, but championships endure. LeBron James and his supporters lean heavily on numbers: the all-time scoring record, his place in the top 10 for assists, the sheer longevity of 2 decades at the highest level. Impressive? Absolutely. Historic? Without question. But here's the problem. Numbers pile up for anyone who plays long enough at a high level. Legacy, however, is not built on accumulation. Legacy is built on moments, and moments are defined in the playoffs. They are defined in the finals. They are defined by whether you lifted the trophy when everything was on the line. That's why Dan Marino, one of the most talented quarterbacks in NFL history, is rarely called the GOAT. He had the stats, he had the arm, but he never won the Super Bowl. By contrast, Tom Brady will forever be remembered, not because of his regular season stats alone, but because he consistently delivered in championship moments. That's why Barry Bonds, despite being perhaps the greatest hitter baseball has ever seen, is talked about differently than Derek Jeter, who was the heartbeat of a dynasty. Talent is respected, but rings define how greatness is remembered. Michael Jordan understood this instinctively. His resume isn't just numbers, though. The numbers are staggering. His resume is the 6 finals, the 6 wins, the 6 finals MVPs, perfection on the biggest stage. LeBron, for all his greatness, doesn't have that same bulletproof legacy. 10 finals appearances sound impressive until you remember that he walked away with the crown only 4 times. 6 defeats on the biggest stage leave scars that statistics cannot erase. That's why Ryan Clark and Kendrick Perkins are right. LeBron's attempt to minimize rings is not just hypocrisy, it's futility. Because no matter how many points he scores, no matter how many All-NBA selections he racks up, fans won't recall those numbers with the same reverence. What they will remember is that in the greatest moments, Jordan was flawless, and LeBron was not. Stats are temporary, legacy is eternal, and legacy is spelled with one word: championships. Why LeBron must devalue the ring. Michael Jordan set a standard so high that it's immovable. 6 championships, 6 finals MVPs, 6 wins with 0 losses on the biggest stage. That record isn't just impressive, it's untouchable, and LeBron James knows it. This is why the narrative has shifted. For most of his career, LeBron chased that ghost in Chicago. He admitted it openly. Every decision he made, from leaving Cleveland for Miami, to returning home for redemption, to joining the Lakers, was calculated with one purpose: to collect rings. He built his empire on the pursuit of championships. But now, in the twilight of his career, the math no longer works. He isn't getting to 6. He isn't passing Jordan. So what's left? Change the rules of the game. That's why he downplays rings. That's why he pivots to talking about the total body of work, or longevity, or accumulated stats. Because those are the only categories where he can still claim an edge. When it comes to the conversation, he can't win the championship conversation. He tries to erase the scoreboard entirely. Ryan Clark called it out perfectly. LeBron doesn't have a problem with ring culture. He has a problem with more rings culture. That single phrase exposes everything. When rings were attainable, they were everything. Now that they are out of reach, they suddenly don't matter. But fans see through this. Analysts see through this. Even fellow players see through this. Because greatness isn't about shifting definitions when the outcome doesn't suit you. Greatness is about standing tall against the standard that history already set. And history set that standard in the 1992nd, when Michael Jordan reigned undefeated. LeBron's greatness is undeniable. But his attempt to devalue rings is the clearest signal yet that he knows he cannot dethrone the king who came before him. It's not an evolution of philosophy. It's a concession. Not all rings are equal. Kendrick Perkins didn't just emphasize the importance of championships, he emphasized their context. Because while every ring counts, not every ring carries the same weight. He pointed to Giannis Antetokounmpo's 2021 title with the Milwaukee Bucks. A small market team, no stacked super team, no shortcuts. Giannis stayed, fought, and delivered. That one championship, Perkins argued, means more than 4 or 5 that he might have collected by joining Golden State. Why? Because it wasn't just a ring, it was a story of loyalty, grit, and leading a franchise to glory. Now compare that to LeBron's rings. In Miami, he joined forces with Dwyane Wade and Chris Bosh to form one of the most powerful super teams ever assembled. The titles count, yes, but the narrative is tainted by the fact that he had to leave home and stack the deck to get them. In Cleveland, his 2016 championship comeback against the Warriors was legendary. No one denies that. It's the crown jewel of his career. But it also stands as the exception, not the rule. In Los Angeles, the 2020 bubble title is legitimate, but even now it carries an asterisk in the minds of many fans because of the unique circumstances of the pandemic season. They all count. But none of them resonate with the same mythic permanence as Jordan's. Jordan's 6 rings were earned in his prime, all as the undisputed alpha, all against dynastic competition: Magic's Lakers, Drexler's Blazers, Barkley's Suns, Peyton and Kemp's Sonics, Stockton and Malone's Jazz. He didn't leave Chicago to find help. He didn't run to another star's team. He stayed, endured, and conquered. Twice, he three-peated. Twice, he stood atop the mountain without ever being knocked off. That's why Jordan's rings are untouchable. They're not just numbers in a column. They're a testament to dominance at the highest level, achieved the hardest way possible. Perkins is right. Rings don't all weigh the same. Some are heavy with legacy, others lighter with context. And that's why when the world looks back, Jordan's 6 will always tower above LeBron's 4, because in the end, it's not just about how many you won, it's about how you won them. Final truth: Jordan's standard is untouchable. By now, the picture is clear. Ryan Clark exposed the contradiction. Kendrick Perkins reinforced the reality. And together, their voices reveal why LeBron James cannot rewrite history no matter how he spins the narrative. LeBron built his career chasing rings. He admitted it. He crowned himself the GOAT in 2016 because of a championship. He left Cleveland, returned to Cleveland, and later joined Los Angeles, all in pursuit of titles. Rings defined his journey. But now, as the possibility of catching Michael Jordan vanishes, he tries to shift the standard. Suddenly, it's not about championships. Suddenly, it's about stats, longevity, and accumulation. That's not greatness. That's self-preservation. Kendrick Perkins reminded us of the timeless truth. No one remembers all-star games. No one remembers all NBA. People remember champions. Legacy is measured in banners, not box scores. Kobe understood it. Jordan embodied it. And that's why they are immortal. And Jordan? He stands alone. 6 trips to the finals, 6 rings, 6 finals MVPs, perfection. He didn't need excuses. He didn't need to move the goalposts. He set the standard once and for all. Greatness is proven when the stakes are highest, and history will never forget it. LeBron is great. But his very effort to devalue rings proves the truth he cannot escape. He knows he cannot surpass Michael Jordan. Hypocrisy isn't just in his words, it's in his fear. The debate may continue for fans. But for history, the verdict is already sealed. Michael Jordan isn't just the GOAT. He is the standard, the measure, the unreachable summit.